I'd like to ask folks to please be seated. It's time to begin. Boy, it certainly got quiet, didn't it?
Voice of authority.
Wow. All righty, I'd like to call to order the December 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Board of Regents. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Regent Drake. Here. Regent Kent. Here. Regent Sadi. Here. Regent Sims.
Here.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Here.
Regent O'Connor.
Here.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen. Here. Regent Schaefer.
Here.
Regent Stark.
Here.
Regent Whites. Quorum's present.
All righty. In your materials is a copy of the minutes from our meeting on September 30, 2022. I'd entertain a motion for the approval unless there's someone that needs to offer some correction to those minutes. Be happy?
Make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
The minutes are approved.
All righty. In compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, the board has posted a copy of the act on the south wall behind the seating area for the press. Things get boring for you later and you want to read that, I guarantee you that you'll take a nap when you're done reading it. At the beginning of each of our Board of Regents meeting, we take some time to recognize people who all too often don't get the recognition that they really deserve. The Board of Regents believes that it's important that we acknowledge your commitment as well as your contributions to the university. To have been nominated for one of the awards is an honor in and of itself. As the kudos recipients are announced, please come to the podium and join the regent who will be making the presentation. Following the presentation, we'll take a picture out in the center area that will appear on our website. President Carter, the Chancellor, recipients' family and supporters are invited to come and join us for the photo. Our first kudos recipient is Olivia Whitaker of the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Sadi. Is our recipient present?
Change order if she's still up. Coming.
They're checking on the location. I believe maybe she's just joining us. Obviously, the clock upstairs and the clock downstairs are not synced, so that's a challenge for somebody to work on this week, Mr. President.
On it. Last order of business.
Thank goodness I didn't know he had that kind of capacity upstairs. I believe we're ready.
The Board of Regents is pleased to recognize Olivia Whitaker, Assistant Registrar Academic Support Services at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Olivia joined the registrar staff in the fall of 2019 as graduation coordinator. Her impressive work ethic, attention to detail, reliability, and desire to serve students have earned her 2 promotions since then. First to the position of Coordinator of Academic Support Services, and on July 1st of this year to her current position. As Assistant Registrar, Olivia manages all aspects of degree audit, including updating curriculum requirements, training new advisors and department chairs to effectively use degree audit, and ensuring that requirements are clear and easy to understand as students work towards graduation. She also develops reports and electronic forms relating to academic records, registration, curriculum management, and degree planning, and creates reports and dashboards using Tableau software. Among her notable accomplishments are updating more than 130 programs in the degree audit to reflect changes to UNK's General Studies program, creating electronic forms to improve ease of access, developing an online bridge training for new academic advisors, and, in May 2022, helping one particular student earn a diploma, a student who attended Kearney State College in the 1970s but was unable to finish her degree at that time. Desires to do more, says her supervisor, UNK Registrar Lisa Neal. Whether proposing new policies to assist students, learning new software to improve reporting, or building electronic forms to improve the student experience, she is up for the challenge. Olivia shares her talents through active involvement in Staff Senate and Leadership UNK, and is a past recipient of the UNK Employee Achievement Award. Please join me in congratulating Olivia Whitaker for a work above and beyond the ordinary for the benefit of the University of Nebraska and the students we serve. With her today are her parents, John and Shelley Whitaker. Congratulations.
And we're still waiting to see what the record is for how many pictures we can take when someone is here. Mr. Secretary, please let your record show that Regent Weiss has now joined the meeting. Congratulations, Olivia. We appreciate your service. Regent Drake, I believe you are on deck next. There you are. You're going to present the kudos to Dean Young of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Dean Young, Operations Manager for the International Quilt Museum at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Dean's work for the International Quilt Museum is world-class. He regularly welcomes and hosts guests from around the state, nation, and indeed the world to the museum, and presents the very best of our university and state. He exemplifies the motto that every person and every interaction matters, and always treats individuals with respect and kindness. A colleague noted, quote, "Dean is the best supervisor, leader, and coworker ever. His skills, kindness, and work ethic are praised by all volunteers, colleagues, and Quilt Museum guests." Dean Young is the gold standard, one of those rare, conscientious employees who is happy to take on any responsibility, challenge, or task, regardless of what else is on his plate. Every day, Dean comes to work with a wonderful can-do attitude and easy manner. Much of the museum's success is due to his consummate professionalism, eternally positive outlook, and boundless desire to serve important stakeholders. Joining Dean today is his wife, Linda Young, daughter, Julie McDaniel, and Leslie Levy, director of the International Quilt Museum. Please join me in thanking Dean for his dedication to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Congratulations, Dean. We're pleased to recognize your service. Regent Kent is our next presenter. There you are. And she's going to be presenting the Kudos Award to Teresa Pisale. Did I get close on that one? Okay.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am pleased to present a Kudos Award to Teresa Pisoli, Senior Software Engineer in IT Development and Operations at UNMC. Teresa joined the university more than 25 years ago and works with UNMC research departments to develop online applications that address the unique needs of each department. One nominator praised her work applications and said they surpass commercial products. Another said she has a unique ability to understand what is needed and find solutions for both the end user and those implementing day-to-day processes. One nominator said, quote, "To say she is indispensable is an understatement." She continually strives to create products that work best for users, troubleshoots any issues, and provides opinions or options that might work better or improve the program. One department application reportedly would not be the awesome program that it is without the understanding and continual improvements understood, undertaken, and accomplished by Teresa. Today, Teresa is accompanied by her daughter, Kara, Supervisor David Paget, and Unit Director Nicole Becker. Please join me in thanking Teresa for her dedication to finding solutions to various programming needs and her ability to develop the online applications that help UNMC researchers move science forward.
Shut up in 2 minutes.
Out of deciding.
Our final recipients today, I believe, are Andrew Sage and Becca Rins from UNO, and Regent Sims is going to present the award. Folks would come on up.
The Nebraska Board of Regents is proud to present a joint Kudos Award to Officers Andrew Sage and Rebecca Renz, members of the UNO-UNMC Department of Public Safety, for their selfless and heroic efforts during a recent tragedy that occurred near the UNO campus. On the evening of Tuesday, September 27th, a pedestrian crossing the street was struck by a vehicle. The incident was witnessed by Officer Sage, who was training a new recruit officer at the time. Quickly jumping into action, Officer Sage reached dispatch to call for backup from campus officials, as well as available law enforcement and rescue teams from the city. While waiting for response teams to arrive, Officer Sage administered care for the pedestrian. Officer Renz arrived on the scene, along with a Nebraska medicine physician who continued to perform CPR and chest compressions in an attempt to save the pedestrian's life until Omaha Fire and Rescue arrived on the scene and were able to identify a pulse. The pedestrian was later identified as Shelby Sherrick. Sadly, due to the extent of her injury, she was unable to survive and passed away the next morning. Leadership from UNO-UNMC Public Safety gave tremendous credit for the quick action and command taken by Officer Sage, who took great lengths to provide a chance for Shelby Sherrick's survival. Officer Sage took command of the scene and took over as a primary officer in his life-saving attempts. Officer Renz responded to the scene by expediting from the UNMC campus to allow for Sage to apply and attempt to use an AED device. Both officers are to be commended and recognized for their heroic attempts. Officials also noted that it was because of clear, direct communication from Officer Sage that hastened the response of additional aid from individuals like Officer Renz and also allowed for life-saving measures to be taken. Their critical thinking and exceptional actions were a key factor in Omaha Police Department personnel being able to obtain a pulse on the victim, at least for a brief time. Officers Sage and Renz exhibited the utmost in professionalism in their response to an extremely difficult situation. In recognition of their quick action, commitment to saving a life, and calm under significant pressure, both Officer Andrew Sage and Officer Rebecca Renz are truly deserving of recognition by UNO, the University of Nebraska System, and the Board of Regents in the form of today's Kudos Award presentation. If you would all please join me in thanking them and congratulating.
Remodeled was electricity.
Amazing pair. She is back there. When I grew up, it was West.
Bless you. Proud of you, man. Cool.
Thank you and congratulations. While our kudos guests are most welcome to stay and observe the balance of our business meeting, if you would like an opportunity to leave, we'll take no offense at that at all. And you may do so. If you'd like to remain for the really exciting part of the meeting, why, you're welcome to stay. Thank you for your contributions to the university.
Yeah, he's enjoying it, I think.
We really should have had some of the press up here behind the table as you've watched us get assembled for the meeting today. You can see we've done a lot of remodeling down here and changing of things around, and accessing electricity has not been a priority apparently until today. And so I believe maybe we now have most of that handled. And if anybody's equipment is not functioning, why, we have other crawlers who are available to get underneath and make that happen. So
Thank you, Bob.
let us know.
Appreciate that.
More of a problem is just not.
Well, before we move to the meat of our meeting, I'd like to also recognize the fellows from the NU Developing Excellence in Academic Leaders, or NU DEAL program, who are here observing our meeting today. So thank you for attending and being here, those of you that are part of that group. Okie dokie. Oh, we won't make them do anything like that. We need to move on now to our resolutions, hearings, and President's remarks.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Ferris. So this opportunity for me right now is really just to have a few minutes to reflect on this past year. And before I do that, I want to be the first to acknowledge the incredible public service work of two of our regents who will be enjoying their last meeting today with us today. First of all, Regent Bob Ferris, who will be recognized again in this meeting. 16 years of service, 3 times as the chair, 10 times as the Business and Finance Committee chair, a remarkable length of service. Regent Jim Pillen, 9 years of service, also an incredible run, and not done serving in the public as he now transitions from Regent Jim Pillen to Governor-elect Jim Pillen. So I just want to be the first to congratulate our 2 regents and ask everybody to give them a round of applause. So when I shared our updated strategic plan for the university system with you earlier this year, I said we were going to focus on 5 broad areas of achievement, all related to creating even greater value and impact for our students, our communities, and all Nebraskans. So as I look back on those 5 areas, I'm actually struck on how much we've been able to achieve. That's a credit to this board, our chancellors, our faculty and staff, our students, and of course to our many partners across the state who believe in this university and want us to be successful. From our elected leaders to philanthropic partners to business leaders to alumni and friends. You heard Coach Rule say it at his press conference just the other day. Leadership matters. Alignment matters. We have that kind of alignment here in Nebraska, which is why I think we are in such a strong position as we end the year. So let me just give you a few highlights. First, I said we were going to set a new bar for student access and success. That's our highest priority, our North Star for the University of Nebraska. You might have seen the newest report from the Nebraska Chamber showing that yet again, workforce is the #1 concern for Nebraska businesses. This problem is too urgent and too great for the University of Nebraska to not be fully engaged. And that's why the chancellors and I are in agreement that enrollment is our top priority. Now, as you've read in the press and if you've heard me say that, the numbers weren't where we wanted them to be this year, but I know the chancellors are working very hard to reverse that trend and know we're going to have a great story to tell in terms of the quality and value that we provide to our students and families. This year we expanded the Nebraska Promise income threshold to $65,000, creating access for more Nebraska students. And of course, we froze tuition again for the 2nd straight year, a step that was possible because of the state's partnership and our fiscal discipline to not balance the budget with tuition. Prices are increasing for just about everything this year, but not tuition at the University of Nebraska. Number 2, I said we would win the competition for talent. We need to compete like never before to keep every Nebraska student here and attract as many talented individuals as possible who want to come here and take advantage of the opportunities that are here in the state of Nebraska. We've heard this clarion call from our business leaders. They need more workforce. Nobody can deliver workforce like the University of Nebraska. We said this would be the year of the internship, and I'll correct that and say it's the year of the paid internship, and we are working to expand opportunities accordingly. For example, Chancellor Joanne Lee has launched the Career Connect program to connect UNO students with paid internships in Omaha. We've already seen 50 students get hired for internships with plans for 150 more in just the next few months. Great progress. That's exactly the kind of opportunity we want to create. It's great for our students, it's great for companies, and it delivers the workforce we desperately need when we're able to keep talent right here in Nebraska and provide a pipeline for full-time jobs and careers. So speaking of attracting talent, we've made a couple of new big additions to our leadership team just recently. Dr. Walter Gilliam, who will lead the Buffett Early Childhood Institute. Incredibly fortunate to have attracted him from Yale, where he is one of the nation's leading experts in early childhood. And of course, Coach Matt Rule, who is a fantastic addition to the University of Nebraska. I have every confidence Coach Rule is going to rebuild our football program on the field, but I'm equally confident that he will be an outstanding leader of our young men. Someone who, as he said, understands that our student athletes are here to be educated in the game and in life. Number 3, we committed to working with partners to grow our impact. Partnership is the magic ingredient to getting things done, and we are fortunate to have such strong partners across the public and private sectors. We can't say thank you enough to Governor Ricketts and the legislature for their partnership on several university efforts that we believe will be real game changers for the state and our economic competitiveness. So for example, the UNC-UNMC Rural Health Education Building in Kearney, a project that will produce urgently needed healthcare professionals for rural Nebraska. We just received a $5 million commitment from the city of Kearney as well, and we are grateful for that city's support. Pancreatic Research Center at UNMC, which is going to provide hope for those suffering from this terrible disease. An Ag Innovation Facility at UNL. This is going to grow our capacity for research and development in Nebraska's most important industry. And on the private partnership side, we were excited just a couple of weeks ago to launch the public phase of a campaign called Only in Nebraska, the boldest fundraising effort in our history to create more student scholarships, more endowed professorships, and more support for world-leading academic programs. Number 4, we said we would take care of our people, our greatest asset. I'm pleased that we were able to make a strategic investment to bring our UNL and UNMC faculty salaries in line with their peers. This is something that's been a stated goal for us for many years, but which we just hadn't been able to achieve until now. This is a great success story for our faculty, who are the best in the world at what they do. We also increased our investments in mental health services across the campuses through very modest fee increases that were just approved this year. This is a real challenge for universities across the country and something our students and staff have told us is urgently needed. And finally, 5th, we committed to being the best possible stewards of our resources. The board has set a high bar. The operating budget you approved included a $50 million spending cut by the end of this fiscal year, and we've made those tough choices in keeping our budgets balanced. Our approach has been affirmed by outside rating agencies, AA bond rating from the S&P, validation of our fiscal management. Our deferred maintenance partnership with the state continues to be a win for students, faculty, and taxpayers alike. The timing of our historic bond last year will end up saving millions in taxpayer dollars. And of the construction work so far, 94% of that work has gone to Nebraskan companies. So not only are we creating savings, we're creating good Nebraska jobs. All of these achievements are taking place in the context of a national conversation about the costs and value of college. You know, there's not a single day that I see a headline asking some variation of the question, is college still worth it? I won't say the University of Nebraska is the right institution for everyone. And we're fortunate in Nebraska to have so many high-quality colleges and universities that students can choose from. And I advocate for each and every one of them, not just our only university system. But when you think about our university and the scope of the workforce we provide, and the doors that we help open for roughly 50,000 students every year, and the research in medicine and agriculture and national defense that only happens on our campuses, not to mention the 9-to-1 return on investment that we generate for every dollar the state gives to us, I can't come to any other answer but yes, college is worth it, more than maybe ever before. In fact, as we think about the workforce shortages facing our state and the fierce competition for talent and the challenges related to the healthcare and agriculture and national security, I would say the University of Nebraska has never been more important to the growth and success of the state of Nebraska. So that's the message that I give to each and every one of you today. It's the message that we're going to be talking about and telling to all of our constituents, all of our supporters, everybody here in the state of Nebraska and nationally as we look ahead to 2023. I believe that we are very, very lucky to live in a place like Nebraska where our public university brings so much and so much to many people across the state together. So the future is exciting. I'm looking forward to a new year of accomplishments in 2023. Mr. Chair, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't hear any predictions about athletics there.
No, I'm not doing that yet.
Okay. Just wanted to give you an opportunity if you... The standing rules of our board do provide that any person may appear and address the board on items that are not on our agenda for action today, provided that they give the corporate secretary 24 hours notice. There's a 3-minute opportunity then for you to come and speak. We've been contacted by one person wishing to speak on a topic that's not on today's agenda. So I think that was William Viles, is that correct or close? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Will Aviles. I'm a professor in the Department of Political Science and president of UNKEA, our faculty union. I want to first state, before I get into the topic of my comments, as a professor at UNK, where we have a large proportion of our students who are first-generation college students, I and my colleagues are especially appreciative of the support you have given and continue to give our students, ensuring that they receive that high-quality education at the University of Nebraska, that it's affordable for all Nebraskan families. So we appreciate that. However, I am here to speak to you today about the salaries of UNK employees. Specifically, I'm referring to the stagnant, below cost of living raises that we faculty as well as staff have received. In the past 5 years, the vast majority of UNK's full-time faculty have received average raises of 1.1%, while during the last 2 years, the vast majority of us received raises of 0.65%. This pattern was not replicated with the salaries of upper administration across the system that have all enjoyed on average higher raises during the same period. Unfortunately, in the context of our country experiencing 9.1% inflation, the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska seems poised again to ignore our economy and propose a raise that falls substantially short of inflation. This approach has damaged the ability of UNK to retain its faculty and harms our ability to compete for new talent. For example, 74 full-time faculty members have voluntarily left UNK in the past 5 years. According to a January 2022 National Education Association report, faculty are leaving higher education at significantly higher rates than in the past. And this has exacerbated in underrepresented groups, and it's more prominent there, such as Latinx and African American faculty. Losing faculty to competing institutions and experiencing difficulties in hiring support staff due to low compensation only adds to the burdens that faculty face, taking us away from our central mission of providing an excellent educational experience for our students. There's no doubt that faculty, staff, and even student morale have been affected by this reality, and this damages the high-quality education that our students receive. Using President Carter's June 2022 5-year strategic plan as a guide, the Board of Regents needs to attract high-quality faculty in order to develop Nebraska's talent pipeline, as well as support our diverse group of faculty, staff, and students. We do not view the board's approach to faculty and staff salaries and raises as sustainable or aligned with President Carter's strategic plan. In the spirit of developing our state's workforce and student success, we ask for bold action in the BOR's approach to raises for faculty and staff. UNKEA urges the board to establish a new trend in compensation, one where the faculty and staff at UNK receive raises that are in line with inflation, raises that demonstrate the board's support in helping UNK continue the high level of excellence that we have maintained for so long. Thank you for your attention and your consideration.
Our standing rules also provide that anyone that would like to speak to the board on an item that is on the agenda for action later today may also do so. I will invite some individuals who have provided notice to come forward, and then if there are those here who did not provide us notice but would like to also speak on an agenda item, we would be happy to hear your comments as well. Remember that you'll need to sign in, identify yourself, and that you also have 3 minutes to address the board. Is Julie Stone present this morning?
Start? I'm Julie Stone.
You may want to pull that down.
Thank you. I don't use a microphone in class. I'm Julie Stone. I'm an associate professor in biochemistry. You, the board, have hundreds of pages of documents related to a so-called process I've been enduring for many years. I, as well as an independent committee of faculty, have pointed out many of the flaws in the process. The committee ultimately referred to the so-called professional competency hearing as being inexcusable. A member of the IANR administration with a clear conflict of interest with almost all of the individuals involved in a special committee hearing was permitted to be present throughout the proceedings, raising the issue of witness intimidation. So many violations occurred even after the brief hearing adjourned that they are easily evident from the one-page summary presented in the agenda item 11A5. Note the terms erroneously and remanded. These flaws in the system are being recognized by 3 significant changes. 1, Kastner teaching apportionment guidelines have been revised. The changes Changes to the academic rights and responsibilities and academic freedom and tenure guidelines are being drafted, and these changes will ultimately have to be incorporated into the Board of Regents bylaws. This is a big deal. What you may not be aware of is that the background that led to the initiation even of this process. First, I would like to recognize that my administrative protest was not only foolish and clearly ineffective, it was childish and stupid. I made a commitment to UNL 20-something years ago. As a wide-eyed, eager, motivated, and well-trained scientist who aimed to make UNL the Midwest Center for great plant science in a welcoming and nurturing environment.
1 minute.
I signed on for the challenge. I have an 80%, 20% research appointment. Things were going great in 2001 when I joined. Technicians, great science. I was awarded tenure in 2008. Dr. Paul Black was hired to chair the department a few years after that, and by 2014, my teaching apportionment, which normally reflects 1 3-credit course per year for faculty in biochemistry, was continually increased with new courses introduced constantly. So this recommendation for termination hinges, sorry, I missed this. By the time he left during the pandemic in 2020, I was responsible for 3 courses, then this. This recommendation for termination hinges on my administrative protest to not complete the ever-evolving activity insight form. A change in my apportionment was initially presented as a threat, but long before Paul Black changed my apportionment de facto. I never stopped doing my job. I stopped being valued for what I do. What I want to happen, don't get me wrong, I love teaching, and I'm good at it.
3 minutes, please conclude your remarks.
I want to relish in my preparation of my materials. I want to continue my active participation in our undergraduate program. I want to, given the flaws in this process, the process should be remanded at least back to the point of the professional competency hearing. And I would like to rewind back to the post-tenure review where I can develop a plan with my current head and my current department. This has been a rough 3 years, and I am so grateful that I'm here. Having it all taken away today just seems cruel. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We also had a request from a Rebecca Cahoon.
I'm a staff member in the Department of Biochemistry and a colleague of Dr. Julie Stone's. I would also like to speak to agenda item 11A5, in which the Board of Regents is being asked to consider a recommendation to fire a tenured professor, Dr. Julie Stone, who has been a faculty member in the Department of Biochemistry for 21 years. Dr. Stone received tenure in 2008. The Board of Regents' decision will affect not just one faculty member, but the entire university community. The importance of academic tenure and the question of fairness in the treatment of a tenured faculty member who has committed no egregious offense and who contributes so positively to the university should be carefully considered by the Board of Regents. The University of Nebraska is a community of scholars, innovators, artists, and educators who require a safe, protected environment where the aims of higher learning, creative activity, and innovation can take place. Academic tenure creates this protected environment. Tenured faculty can speak freely without fear of censure. They can be themselves. They can be a little different. They can be an extrovert in a field like biochemistry where introverts tend to dominate. Academic tenure means that you can be the faculty member who loves to teach in a department driven by highly competitive research scientists who prefer to focus on their own work. Being a little different can be a real asset if properly supported and directed by a competent departmental and administrative leadership. Academic tenure nurtures a diverse faculty where colleagues must learn to work together cooperatively and for the long haul. Once a faculty member has earned tenure, it should not be taken away, except under the most extreme circumstances.
1 minute.
Whatever the outcome of this decision is, Dr. Stone herself will be okay. She has committed no crime. The question is, will the university be okay? After the decision is made, the details and rationale for applying the termination process will be discussed honestly, openly, and publicly, as they should be. The larger question of how this decision actually serves the University of Nebraska will come under the microscope, as all its members of this community of scholars have a very vested interest in protecting the academic freedom that is critical to the healthy and proper functioning of the university. It's not always about money. It is always about truth. Thank you for your consideration.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak to the board on an item that is on the board agenda for action later this morning? Seeing none, I would ask the secretary to also reflect in our minutes that written testimony has been received from Sadaf Khan, Scott Kindle, Tim Husen, Husen, Rebecca Cahoon, Amanda Easterly, Janine Van Nostrand, and Rebecca Roston, R-O-S-T-O-N, reflecting this comments about this same agenda item. So let's show those in our minutes. And I would declare then that the opportunity for public comment is now closed. Our consent agenda is the next item that we would consider. The consent agenda, as it's indicated by its name, is moved and voted on as one item, as opposed to the administrative agenda where we take things individually. Unless one of my colleagues on the board wishes to take an item out of the consent agenda for separate consideration, I would be at a place where we could receive a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to remove an item? Is there a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Heard that. Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor. Yes. Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And we would, and that motion included that we would approve the consent agenda as it was on the items and presented to us. I think it's now time then for us to move into the rest of the administrative agenda. And the ball comes your way again, President Carter.
Thank you, Chairman Ferris. The first section on academic affairs, and the first item is award of Regent Emeritus title to Bob Ferris, addendum item 11A1. It is an honor to recommend item 11A1 with the Executive Committee today. In 2016, the board adopted Regents Policy 1.2.6, which created the honorary title of Regent Emeritus, as outlined in the process for its award. A regent may be nominated for this honor if they have served more than 6 years or served as chair and retired from service in good standing. In my view, Regent Ferris far exceeds this criteria. He has represented District 7 as a distinguished member of the board since 2006 and served 3 times as chair. He very well may have served a record 10 times as Business and Finance Committee chair, as I mentioned earlier. Further, Regent Ferris has been incredibly generous with his time, volunteering to represent the board at commencement ceremonies from Omaha to Scotts Bluff, participating in Higher Learning Commission reaccreditation work, and connecting countless supporters with the university and the University of Nebraska Foundation to further our mission. I enthusiastically recommend this item for the board's approval.
Hey, Bob, I'm going to jump in since this involves you. And I would just, ask if there's a motion to approve item 11A1.
I'll make it.
Second. Their discussion. Now get the opportunity to roast.
I don't see that anywhere.
I like to go off script. I would just start conversation and say, Bob, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to the university. You've always been a even-keeled and level-headed and helped guide the university in so many ways that we really appreciate you and Marjean's commitment. You were always there, and whenever you were there, Marjean was there, and it truly was a great partnership you had, and a great partnership you had with us. So I appreciate all you've done for the University of Nebraska, and you will be missed.
It's been my pleasure to be here, and as I had the opportunity to say last night, the thing that is most frontal, I guess, to me, as I think about it, are people. And the opportunity that I've had to work with people around this table, other people, our chancellors and other faculty and staff throughout. We're blessed to have outstanding people committed to this Nebraska, and
I'm hoping, usually in public meetings, we behave relatively well. But when we're working behind the scenes, some of us get a little too intense at times, and I don't know who's going to pick the mantle up to say, take a breath. We have a process to follow. Bob was a master at that, and we're going to miss you. But very, very grateful. You've been a great leader on the board, Bob. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm the newest member of the board, and Bob, you and Marjean, my first month on the board, took me and my wife out to dinner twice. And I deeply appreciated reaching out to us. You're a class act.
You have something, Paul?
One of the things that I think about Bob is, I mean, a lot of people gave a lot of service, but under duress, you're amazing. You went through some very hard things in your life, and you're still there all the time. So that part to me is very amazing.
thank you.
And I just want to say also that a lot of the work of the Board of Regents happens behind the scenes, and that's truly where Bob's mentorship shined. We're lucky to have had him, and I think he's been one of the pillars of the board in the last couple of years. So thank you for all of your hours, not just as chair, but as our mentor and as chair of business affairs.
I also wanted to say briefly, thank you so much for the time that we've gotten to learn from you. You're truly a leader that leads by example. You're never one that says, here's a lesson for you, here's a lesson for you, but just the way you act teaches us so much. And I think President Carter said last night that you have served with 70 student regents. So on behalf of all of them that couldn't be here today, thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Bob's just been a really strong pillar to the university and the board and mentoring everybody on the board. Appreciate everything that Bob's done for me. I remember our first meeting when we had the vote on whether to spin off the UNL Health Center, and that was my first meeting. I'd been appointed to the board once, but there wasn't a meeting sitting next to Bob, and that was a really controversial vote at the time, but I didn't know any of the board members because that first meeting was the first time so I just remember Bob just kind of talking through the processes with me and so forth, but it will never be forgotten.
There are a lot of reasons that I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and one of them is being able to work with you, Regent Ferris. Thank you for all of the time, all of your dedication, the time that you have put into helping student regents understand some very complex issues, and just mentoring us, getting to know us as people. We greatly appreciate you and your service to the university, your commitment to helping students in our state.
Bob, I think there must be ruts in the interstate between here and Scotts Bluff.
That's fine.
Because every meeting, every committee meeting, every dinner, every dedication, and every graduation, I see you there. And it doesn't come, it's so sincere. And it's so much about how really committed you are and how proud you are of the people that we graduate and the people that teach them and the administrative that helps the whole system work. I just think that you have been an incredible, not only mentor to me, several people have talked about mentoring, but you've been an incredible leadership role model of how to do it in a way that people respect, people feel cared about, and people feel the work gets done. So thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, well, I'm expecting you and Margene to be, now it's volleyball season. I expect you and Margene to come down and spend the time in our basement watching the game. Because the last national championship we won, you guys were in our basement watching that game.
Oh my gosh.
So we need that luck, that karma. Roll call vote, please.
Regent Sims?
Yes.
Regent Drake?
Yes.
Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent Sadi?
Yes.
Regent Ferris?
I suppose I should abstain.
Regent Pillen?
Process guy.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Fantastic. And Bob, we want to give you this gavel, which is for being named Regent Emeritus.
That's very kind of all of you. Thank you very much. I had the opportunity to say it at a little function we were at last night that a lot of what I've been able to do is many of you have talked about Bob and Margene, and I'm grateful for my wife's support and a lot of what we've been able to accomplish. When you start out dating someone when you're a junior in high school and you end up marrying her, and 1 or 2 years after that, why, it's been a while. And I'm amazed at her persistence over that many years. But.
All right, well, again, congratulations, Regent Emeritus Bob Ferris. Item 11A2 seeks the board's approval to transition the Bachelor of Science in Public Administration into the existing Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science in Political Science at UNK. This program has lacked sufficient enrollees and graduates for the past 6 years and failed to meet the CCPE minimum performance standards. Current students will be able to finish their program of study or transition into the political science degree program. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Do we have a motion to approve item 11A2?
So moved.
Second. Call the roll, please. We don't have any discussion, Phil.
All right. Regent Drake? Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11A3 seeks the board's approval to create the Master of Arts in Public History degree at UNK. This proposed 36-hour online graduate program is designed for completion in 2 years. The curriculum is designed for careers in museums, historic preservation, digital history, oral history, cultural resource management, heritage tourism, and archives. No new coursework is needed to offer this degree program as it will use existing coursework. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
And
Barb?
second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Drake,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11A4 seeks the board's approval to transition the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Arts in Latin American Studies into the Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts in Ethnic Studies at UNL. This major has lacked sufficient enrollees and graduates for the past several years and failed to meet the CCPE minimum performance standards. Future students would be able to complete a degree in ethnic studies with an emphasis or option in Latin American studies. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's important that you speak up, folks, when we get to the motion. How about a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Let's call the roll, please.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Drake,
Yes.
Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11A5 will be considered after closed session. Item 11A6 seeks the board's approval to transition the Master of Science in Emergency Preparedness into the existing Master of Public Health degree program at UNMC. This graduate degree has failed to meet the CCPE minimum performance standards, and the practitioner MPH degree is better suited for students entering this field. Current students will be able to finish their program of study or transition into the emergency preparedness emphasis with the MPH program. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Discussion.
Jeff, could you, Chancellor, could you add a little clarity why we're doing this and
Sure, and
for
thank you.
everyone outside?
Absolutely. So the state of the practice now is for individuals who carry a master's degree in public health to assume these emergency response roles. So an independent master's program in health security doesn't really interface with the job market anywhere near as effectively as an MPH does. So for a similar cost of dollars and time commitment, the individual can graduate with the same credentials and yet carry with them a full Master of Public Health degree. As a result of that, the students are well aware of the job opportunities, and therefore they select the MPH programs as opposed to the original master's program. So this is a solid and important move, and I think it represents national trends as well. There's not any lack of our commitment to educating young women and young men in careers in health security, rest assured.
Thank you.
That's a good comment, Chancellor. Thank you for that and for the question asking for it. I hope you notice as we've moved through this that this is an example, these are examples of us trying to stay on the cutting edge of where we need to be programs and our working with CCPE and coordinating with them so that we're all in the best possible position we can. And for you people that tend to think that it's the same curriculum that you had 40 years ago, not true. We're trying to continue to move it to make it. Thank you for those work. Thank you for the work and for the Academic Affairs Committee's extra work on items like this. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11A7 seeks the board's approval to name the Special Collections and Archives Department in the McGugan Health Sciences Library at UNMC after Robert S. Wigton. Dr. Wigton was a longtime faculty member at UNMC who championed the growth and development of the Special Collections and Archives. He meets several of the criteria for this honor, including extraordinary service to the university as a faculty member, alumni who have provided extraordinary service to the university, and donors who have made a significant financial contribution to the university. Regents Policy 2.6.1 requires approval by the cognizant chancellor, the president, and the board to name an academic unit in honor of an individual. In my view, Dr. Wigton is most deserving of this honor. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Let's call the roll.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
The motion passes.
We'll now move into Business and Finance. Unless there is an objection, I recommend the board consider items 11B1 through 11B4, which are approval of the 2023-2024 through the years 2025-2026 Residence Hall room and board rates for UNK, UNL, UNO, and NCTA together. To provide students and families greater predictability regarding total costs of attendance, 3 years of Residence Hall room and board rates are recommended for the board's consideration. 3% annual increases are recommended by UNL, UNK, and NCTA. UNO recommends a 3.4% increase in year 1 and 3.5% increases in years 2 and 3. The proposed increases would help cover costs which are increasing related to utilities, food, supplies, and employee compensation. These items were reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend them to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Gotta be done.
Please call the roll.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B5 seeks the board's approval to amend Regents Policy 5.6.1, which relates to the sponsorship of speakers with student fees. Our current policy was adopted in 1979, and candidly, it's due for modernization. The proposed revisions would update guidelines to student organizations for evaluating requests to fund campus speakers with student fees and outline a viewpoint-neutral set of factors that such organizations may consider. Additionally, an appeals process would be created to ensure that decisions on funding of speakers are compliant with this policy and applicable law. If approved, the university would conduct training for employees tasked with carrying out this policy. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
I have one question. So it's universal with all campuses?
Yes.
Makes it easy then?
I thought you did a great job. A lot of work went into this. It was really needed. It's a moving target. It's difficult.
It's a correction to something that wasn't keeping up.
Yeah.
I've spoken at length with students about how this would impact the ability to sponsor speakers on campus and what kind of speakers that this might hinder or allow them to bring, and it certainly creates more guardrails for how those discussions should go. But the general consensus is that the whole point of a college campus is to engage with ideas that you might not always agree with, and I think this policy helps us do that.
Any other discussion? Let's call the roll.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Drake,
Yes.
Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B6 seeks the board's approval of a 24-month agreement with 2 optional 1-year extensions with the City of Lincoln to provide bus service connecting UNL's City, East, and Innovation campuses. UNL has partnered with the City of Lincoln since 1994 to provide this service, which is funded by student fees and parking permit revenue. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a third. Any discussion?
Having fun.
All righty, let's call the roll.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Drake, Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen, Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B7 seeks the board's approval for a $5.5 million Legislative Bill 384 deferred maintenance project to update the air handling units at Andrews Hall. This facility was built in 1928, and certain building systems are at end of life. Now, that's a shocker. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Let me just make a comment. It's interesting to note, as Ted has, that we have discussions in the committee prior to being recommended then for the agenda. And if the committee is not willing to support it and recommend that it show up here, it isn't going to happen. And the details have a great opportunity to be explored and talked about in those times. So don't think that we're just taking something like this and bang, you've got it. It has received a lot of consideration, discussion, and digging into in many cases. Be comfortable with sending it forward for actual action. So I know if you're part of the audience looking at this, you think, my goodness, took a bit of time, but not very much, and that's a lot of money. It is. And it has had a lot of consideration prior to getting here. With that comment, which I don't expect you to put in the minutes, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Regent Drake,
Yes.
Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent Sadi,
Yes.
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B8 seeks the board's approval of a change order for the Carolyn Pope Edwards Hall project at UNL. Regents Policy 6.3.1 requires approval by the board for change orders exceeding the greater of $1 million or 1.25% of the total project cost. During the course of construction, changes have been approved, including air handling, filter enhancements, and schedule recovery from pandemic-induced delays. No budget increases is required as sufficient contingency funding is available. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Let's call the roll.
Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent Sadi?
Yes.
Regent Sims?
Yes.
Regent Drake?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Ferris?
Yes.
Regent Pillen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Unless there's an objection, I recommend the board consider items 11B9 and 11B10 together. Approval of these guaranteed maximum price contracts will progress two key Legislative Bill 384 renewal and replacements projects at UNL: the Architecture Complex and the Westbrook Music projects. The Whiting Turner Contracting Company is recommended to complete the Architecture Complex project, and Hausman Construction is recommended to complete the Westbrook Music Replacement project following a competitive qualification-based selection. These items were reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend them to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second? Any discussion?
Chancellor Green, can you enlighten the group on the two projects?
So you'll recall the program statements for both of these this past year. The architecture complex, this is the second phase of the renewal of the architecture complex and the link between the old original library building of the university that is Architecture Hall and the former College of Law building, and the rebuild of that link is the architecture project. The Westbrook Music project, which actually starts pending this approval next week, right after commencement, December 19th, is the replacement facility for the School of Music, the Glencorf School of Music, and that's on schedule to start. So those are the projects, Regent Kenny.
Now, I'll just add another comment here, as we've talked about often about LB 384 and our $400 million bond sale, which was brought in at historic lows. It's been important, and I appreciate the speed at which the board has moved here so that we are able to move these projects forward, many of which have been stalled for years, waiting to get to these projects. So this is great progress, and there's a lot to be celebrated here.
I'll just add one thing on the Westbrook project. You'll remember that is a replacement facility to replace and enhance the home of the Glencorf School of Music. That project now is designed as part of the existing facility will be incorporated into the new project, which we're very, very pleased about as well. So, you know, it's long awaited, Ted, in particular, that project.
But it brings up a good point that we often don't just try to rehabilitate or restore a building. There are times when something needs to come down and something new goes up.
And then that would be, if we just talked about the old Mabel Lee, you know, originally, that, if everybody remembers, the original plan was we were going to try to go through all the concrete and the swimming pool and make that the education. And after a while, we said, well, wait a minute, let's take a breath and take a look. And the whole thing came down. Nobody likes to tear stuff down, but there are buildings that just don't work anymore. So, Ted, could you speak to the bond, the $400 million? We've got a limited time to get that money invested, right? Is that, I don't recall, is that 5 years?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Chris Gabork maybe to make a quick comment on that, since he's helping us manage that portfolio.
No.
This is the timeline associated with the $400 million bond. Is there a timeline associated with it?
Yes. So since it's tax-exempt debt, IRS rules have a specific period of time where you have to spend the bond proceeds, typically 36 months or 3 years, with a little bit of flexibility there. But we intend, that's why we've been pushing, the chancellors have been pushing these projects through you hard over the last year, because we have about a 2 to 3 year window to get 85% of those proceeds spent.
Thank you.
But I don't want the idea of the speed here to dilute any of the good work that's been done. And as I said earlier in my comments, 94% of these contracts have gone to Nebraska companies, which is really quite tremendous for the economic growth of the state.
Any other comments or discussion?
I think it's interesting, 94%. I mean, you think about that, you know, a lot of times you only think of the university as one that's providing, you know, educating students, getting them into the workforce, and then filling job vacancies, and that certainly is a great assist for businesses across our state. But then you think of the fact that $400 million, and if 94% of it is being used or being allocated to local Nebraska-based companies to help our facilities, we're helping their businesses as well. And so we're another great resource for the state and the state's economy.
Any other comments? Let's call the roll.
Regent Sadi?
Yes.
Regent Sims?
Yes.
Regent Drake?
Yes.
Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Ferris?
Yes.
Regent Pillen? Yes. Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B11 seeks the board's approval to amend the interagency agreement with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services to support the Medicaid Graduate Medical Education Supplemental Payment Program for UNMC. I'm going to ask Dr. Jeffrey Gold to provide a brief overview of this item.
Thank you, President Carter. So the University of Nebraska Medical Center has had a long-standing relationship with DHHS to support graduate medical education. And for those that are not aware of the concept, following completion of medical school, in order to obtain licensure, but more importantly, specialty training, think internal medicine, pediatrics, surgery, in my case, cardiac surgery, etc., that falls into the category of what's called graduate medical education. And these positions are typically funded through a combination of federal, state, and local dollars. Turns out that there was eligibility for the Department of Health and Human Services and the University of Nebraska Medical Center to approach our federal government, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, as we were eligible for an increase in those federal pass-through dollars. So as a result of just over 4 years of work with the federal government, with our state officers in DHHS, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Governor Ricketts for his personal assistance in this as well, we were able to amend the interagency agreement, which will substantially increase the federal pass-through funding to support rural and urban graduate medical education, particularly in primary care specialties, etc. This is something that approximately half of the states in the United States have already accomplished, and many others are in the process of applying for this eligibility. So this was extensively discussed at the Business and Finance Committee, and at the time of that discussion, it was pending final approval by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, but as of earlier this week, we have achieved final approval of this funding. I'm more than pleased to answer any questions, President Carter.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. I thought that was well explained. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
We're open for a motion.
Make it.
Second.
Second. Any other questions or discussion?
So how much will it change? How many dollars will that affect making the switch?
These dollars are in total shared by the Nebraska Medicine, Children's Hospital System, Creighton Residencies, etc. The totality of the package, if I'm not mistaken, is approximately $61 million a year, inflation corrected, or approximately an increase of $35 million a year. I'm going to look to Ann nodding, saying that I'm at least directionally correct. So this is not a small increment of the opportunity to educate young women and young men. And by the way, where an individual physician finishes their graduate medical education training is the highest predictor of where they will choose to practice medicine. And so this is really important to building the future workforce of our state.
Appropriate comments. Any other questions or comments? Okey-doke. Let's move forward.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B12 seeks the board's approval to enter into a contract with Sodexo to provide food service operations for UNO over a 5-year contract period with two-year renewal options. UNO sought proposals to outsource food service operations to provide more reliable service to students, shift workforce recruitment and retention responsibility to a third party, and garner the ability to bring national franchises to campus. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Motion?
Second.
Questions, comments, discussion?
I would just encourage all of you to come to our current student union and then come for lunch now and see how your experience is and what your options are. And then ideally come back after this is instated and see what your options are then. I'm so excited to see this be brought to fruition, and so it's going to help keep our students on campus and help to give them good options to be nourishing their bodies while they are busy learning.
You don't want to go and eat twice, you can ask our student regent for her opinion about where it is now, and then you can go check it out later, so.
There you go.
Other questions, comments? Well, let's call the roll.
Regent Drake.
Yes.
Regent Kent.
Yes.
Regent Sadi.
Yes.
Regent Sims.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B13 seeks the board's approval to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with Douglas County to allow the UNO and UNMC public safety team to have access and use of the Douglas County Communications Department and 911 Center, allowing greater connectivity and emergency response operations. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second? Did I hear a second?
Regent Sims.
Okay, good. Questions, discussion? Yes, Liz?
I will be abstaining from this item, not because I don't support it, but just to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest due to my role as Deputy County Attorney for Douglas County.
Chancellors, if you would like to add any clarity to this or any background, and our whole team's over there, I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
Thank you, Regent Sims. This is a interlocal cooperation that is important to provide a more responsive and collaborative effort to support and ensure the safety of both campuses. So I think it's a great direction for UNO and also for UNMC. And I want to defer to Dr. Gold if there is any additional comment.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So it predominantly strengthens the dispatch services, the ability to coordinate with local law enforcement. And sometimes local law enforcement needs the partnership with the university law enforcement. Sometimes the university law enforcement needs the partnership with the, in this case, the Omaha Police Department. And so what it does is it strengthens the ability to communicate through a shared dispatch center. It's an important step forward. Thank you for the question.
A question, but not a comment. You know, this, like many of the other ones that we've done today, thanking the chancellors and their staffs for keeping us on the cutting edge. So, you know, many are help us with just straight dollars, processes, but thank you from the board.
I just want to point out that the kudos for UNO kind of demonstrated the importance of being swiftly to the accidents that happen, and I think this is a good change.
Thank you, Regent Whites. I want to point out that the past 2.5 years, the world subject to pandemic, it has created tremendous amount of mental stress on many people, including our community. So having the proactive way of dealing the crisis collaboratively is important to both of our campuses on Omaha campus. Thank you.
Okay, other comments, questions? Let's call the roll.
Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent Sadi?
Yes.
Regent Sims?
Yes.
Regent Drake?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent Ferris?
Yes.
Regent Pillen?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Finally, there are also numerous reports for your review.
You're not going to give us a Reader's Digest condensed version of all of those?
I
or-
think we covered those in committee, so I don't intend to break those down any further than what we've discussed.
I do, and I know most of you do, please do pay some attention to those. They're there to serve a very useful purpose, and that's to let you know things that are going on and that are happening. And I would encourage our board members, if you have any questions, as you look at those particular reports, I hope you have Phil's phone number on your quick dial, and that's when you punch the button and say, Phil, I've got some questions, and we'll get the answers for you. Okay? All righty. I think at this particular point, we'll put in the agenda that there are the minutes that I accept these on behalf of the board, and I believe we need a closed session. Is there a motion? Mr. Stark?
Yes. I move that the Board of Regents go into closed session as authorized by Section 84-1410 of the revised statutes of Nebraska for the protection of the public interest and to prevent needless injury to the reputation of persons who have not requested a public hearing, and for the purpose of holding a discussion limited to the following subject: personnel matters involving members of the university staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Regent Sadi?
Yes.
Regent Sims?
Yes.
Regent Drake?
Yes.
Regent Kent?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Ferris?
Yes.
Regent Pillen? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Let the minutes of this meeting reflect that this closed session will be strictly limited to discussion of personnel matters involving the university staff. We need the board, President Carter, Chancellor Green, and our legal counsel to remain. The rest of you have an opportunity to find the restroom down the hall or take a cup of coffee with you as you go.
Bob Philstein, too.
Yes, corporate secretary. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in public session. And item 11A5 is where we were with that not having taken place. So that involves the review of evidence submitted to the Academic Freedom and Tenure Committee and the committee's report, including its findings, conclusions, and recommended action. We have reviewed the evidence and the report, so we must decide whether to adopt the committee's recommendation and terminate the faculty member's continuous appointment. My colleagues and I were provided the evidence submitted to the Academic Freedom and Tenure Committee, the verbatim account of the hearings, the committee's report earlier this fall. Having given the committee's findings and conclusions due consideration, we need to render a decision on this matter. So I'm going to offer a motion that item 11A5 be approved, and adopt the committee's recommendation to terminate the faculty member's continuous appointment. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Regent Sims,
Yes.
Regent Drake,
Yes.
Regent Kent,
Yes.
Regent Sadi, Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen, Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
There being no further business for this meeting, we will now stand adjourned. Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you.